Hello and welcome to Key Lessons. I'm Joe and this video is going to be a bit different to what I usually do. I want to talk about just one card in particular. Grade 8 Son Goku Saiyan Instincts. Let's be honest, this is going to be a bit of a rant, though I will tie it back to deck building at the end of the video. If you've been on the Facebook group the last couple of days, you may have seen that the event packs have started to get into circulation due to Gen Con and so on, and the grade 8 is still pretty hard to find and still very overpriced. For anyone new to the game, I better explain what the deal with this card is, because on the surface it's a big deal. It's a 2-cost battle card with 15k power, but I don't think I've ever seen anyone play it as a battle card. The point of it is you can warp it from your drop for 2 energy and draw 2 cards, which is nice. Hand advantage is very important in the Dragon Ball Super card game. So that doesn't explain, though, why it costs so much. We have to dig a little bit deeper. It was a super rare in Draft Box 4, which was, let's just say, a problematic release. Half of the box was filled with reprints, and the other half was like the new cards in it were good. They were too good, and they were too hard to pull. You'd have to buy 2 cases to even think about having a chance of having playsets of every new card in it. And the draft box was short printed, so you'd have a hard time trying to find a box of it now. But the card, I still don't think it's that great. Like don't get me wrong, it's very useful, but it's not worth $200 or whatever the hell it's going for at the moment. The obvious issue here is buyouts. People buy every copy of it they can, and then they sell it for way more. Highly unethical stuff. But there's also a more innocent problem, and that is the quote-unquote best decks. All the best decks run this card. This is the thing about the card that pisses me off the most. Let me explain. So all the good players that constantly perform well at big tournaments, people trust their builds, and they tend to use this card a lot because they understand it's got good value. There's no disputing that. So they put out their deck profiles, and it's expensive looking on paper, but if you already own the card, you're going to use it, sure. But here's the thing. A new player comes along, and he's like, I don't know how to build a deck. Can someone show me a list? Show me something that's going to do well. And everyone's like, here's this list. It's got 4 copies of the Great Ape in it. It's going to cost you $5,000. If you don't play this exact deck list, you have no chance. You're going to lose. And that just puts new players off the game. I've seen it happen. Like, you see it on the Facebook. They're like, oh, I want to get into this game, but apparently I have to buy this card, and I don't have enough money for that. I only want to play it for fun. And it was said in the comments today, like 90% of the deck lists out there run this card at 4. So they're going to look it up and see that in every single deck list, and they're like, I have to have it. Well, let me tell you something. I only own 1 copy of it. I put it in my Surge Goku deck when that leader first came out because it's an obvious choice for it. But I never bother putting it in any of my other decks. I can't find room for it because all it does in the end is draw 2 cards, and I want to fit my deck with more relevant stuff. I actually saw someone in the comments today saying, oh, we should ban it. Look, it's stupid how much it's going for, but you don't need to ban it. All it does is draw 2. It's not... the competitive decks use it, but that doesn't mean it's a competitive card. There are other ways of drawing cards. So with that, let's talk about how we can build around the fact that we don't own the card. How can we put more draw power into our deck without using Saiyan Instinct? I'm going to give you a few different ideas for a few different colors. First up, we have Frost Before the Storm. Now, he's not as good as Saiyan Instincts. He's a 1-drop. You put him on the board, and then once per turn you can pay an energy to draw a card. So in the long run, he could potentially get you more value, but he can be removed, and it's kind of more of an investment. You don't get the draw 2 immediately. We have Not Even a Scratch, which is a negate, and it's kind of like half of a Saiyan Instinct where you remove it from your drop, and pay 1 and you draw 1. So this one is my favorite one, the Shen Roshi combo. Used to play it all the time back in the day. You get both Shen and Roshi on the board. One puts the other in the rest, and the other one puts the other one in rest. So you draw 1 card for each of them. It has its drawbacks. It's a little bit vulnerable, and once they're in rest mode, they can be attacked. But that is also valuable in its own sense, because if they're wasting time attacking Shen Roshi, they're not attacking your leader. However, the thing with it is you need both of them to work. So if you want it to be consistent, you need to run 4 Roshi and 4 Shen. So that's 8 slots in your deck already filled. Now let's talk about Kaba. So this Kaba is just a 1-drop. You play him and you draw 1 card, and that's all he does. Pretty useless, right? Well, he can be useful if you're running this Vegeta that, thrives off having another Kaba in the field. You could evolve him into this double strike Kaba if you really want, although it's a set 1 card, so maybe not. Or you could use him as fodder to get this Kefla out. Or you could just combo him away once you've gotten the draw from him. If your leader is yellow, you could play Kefla's Fury. And if you're playing a deck that has Kid Gokus in it, and you can splash yellow, you could play I'm the World Champion. Seeing as Red Earthlings is an archetype at the moment, you could play Everybody's Power Yamcha. Or if you're playing Vegito or any other deck that is heavy on blue Saiyans, you could play Everybody's Power Trunks. If you're playing either red or blue and you are okay with splashing the other, you could play Tyranny's Cost. And then you got cards like Borgos or the Cunning cards that draw when you play them. And they also have their own abilities. There are so many cards in this game that have abilities that draw. All you have to do is be a little bit imaginative. Go onto Shenron's Lair and search in draw, and it will just come up with every card that mentions the word draw. One more time for the road. Stop paying so much for Saiyan instincts. Alright, that'll do it for this video. I've got a few videos about deck building being worked on at the moment, so if you're interested in seeing those, please subscribe, and I'll see you then.